The waitress greets the Arab millionaire in his language. What happens next is unbelievable. Maria bustled around the busy restaurant, weaving through throngs of customers and servers. Plates piled high with glistening pasta and sizzling steaks moved swiftly from the kitchen. Her heart raced with the familiar chaos. There was comfort in the clatter. Today felt different, though. The air crackled with a strange electricity. As she poured coffee, her eye caught a figure at the back, a man whose presence felt like a shadow among the bright lights. When she approached his table, looking to take his order, something about him struck her, a deep aura, a magnetic pull. He wore an expensive suit that seemed almost too formal for the diner's casual ambiance, and his dark eyes surveyed the room like a hawk. Maria took a breath, steeling herself before greeting him. "Good afternoon. What can I get for you today?" she asked, her voice steady, but laced with curiosity. He met her gaze, and for a heartbeat, the world around them faded. "Marhaba, hal tatahaddithina al-Arabiyya?" "Hello, do you speak Arabic?" he replied, his voice smooth and rich like melted chocolate. She blinked, momentarily stunned. Her heart skipped. "I do," she managed, the simple phrase tinged with surprise and delight. In that fleeting moment, the hustle of the restaurant fell away. There was an unspoken connection, a chemistry that hung in the air like the smell of freshly baked bread. They shared a few playful exchanges in Aramaic, laughter bubbling between them, drawing the attention of nearby diners and causing whispers to sweep through the room. But as quickly as it ignited, reality crashed back. She sensed something darker lurking beneath his charming smile. The way his eyes darted toward the entrance, the tension in his shoulders. This wasn't just another businessman looking for a meal. He was a man on the run, and she could feel it. "Do you always speak your native language to waitresses?" She teased lightly, but her heart rate quickened with intrigue. His smile faltered, just for a second. "Only when I feel unsafe, and right now I do." A chill crept down her spine. She didn't want to pry, but curiosity gnawed at her. He leaned closer, his voice low. "There's something I need, something stolen from my family. There are those who would do anything to keep it hidden." Maria's mind raced. What could he possibly need from a waitress like her? Her thoughts ricocheted back to her grandmother's stories about a forgotten family treasure, whispered about in hushed tones. A sudden ruckus at the entrance pulled them both from their thoughts. A group of thuggish men burst in, scanning the room like wolves on the hunt. Maria's heartbeat thundered in her ears. Amir's tension escalated, his eyes sharp as he spotted their approach. She glanced at him, fear mingling with a thrilling excitement. "What do we do?" His gaze held hers, a mix of desperation and resolve. "We find the treasure, it might be our only chance to escape this." As the men moved closer, Maria felt a frisson of panic mixed with courage. Could she trust him? The shadows were closing in, and she stood at a crossroads. Would she risk everything to pull the threads of their fates together? The danger was real, but so was the spark that flared between them. "Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And since you're here, smash that like button because it really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact." Fear mixed with adrenaline coursed through Maria's veins as she locked eyes with Amir. The thugs were closing in, their heavy footsteps crunching on the tiled floor like an impending storm. "What do we do?" she whispered, her voice barely audible over the growing tension. Amir leaned in, his breath warm against her ear. "We have to find that treasure, now." Before she could respond, the lead thug, a burly man, with a scar stitching his brow, pointed directly at Amir. "There he is, get him!" Her heart dropped. Amir was a target, but why? They couldn't think about that now. The diner was turning into a cage, the walls closing in. "They're coming. We need a way out." Amir grabbed her arm, urgency propelling him. "Follow me." Just as they turned toward the back exit, the door swung open violently, and another man stepped in. A familiar face. Maria's breath caught in her throat. "Daniel," she gasped. It was her brother, her own flesh and blood, standing there with a smug grin that felt like ice. "What are you doing here?" she breathed, disbelief making her words tremble. The tension in Amir's posture shifted instantly, his eyes narrowing. "You know him?" "Of course, but before she could finish, Daniel's expression twisted into something sinister. "Sorry, sis. I had to play my part." He flicked his gaze to Amir, a predatory smile spreading. "Looks like I found him first." "Daniel, what are you talking about?" Confusion swirled like a tornado in her mind. "You're scaring me." The thugs halted, sensing the shift. Daniel stepped closer, his voice low and sleek. "That guy you're so smitten with, he's not who you think he is. He's the one who stole from my clients. You're in deep, Maria. You just dragged yourself into a world you don't understand." Maria's heart raced. Betrayal clawed at her, turning her stomach. "No, that can't be true." "Oh, it's true. He's running from not just a simple business deal gone wrong. He's wrapped up in something sinister." Daniel smirked, relishing her horror. Amir straightened, a fire igniting in his dark eyes. "You're a piece of work, Daniel," he spat. Suddenly one of the thugs lunged forward, spurred by Daniel's command. In a blur, Amir blocked the attack, rising with surprising speed. Maria's breath hitched as she watched the connection. It was no longer about just escaping. It was a fight for her life. "Get down," Amir shouted, pushing her aside as a flurry of fists flew. Chaos erupted in the diner. Chairs toppled, and plates shattered. The customers screamed, scrambling for safety. In the melee, Maria's world spiraled. Her brother had torn their family apart by pulling her into his betrayal, wrapping her relationship with Amir in a web of deceit. Her heart pounded as she struggled to process what she just learned. And then, through the noise, Maria heard something that made her blood turn to ice. "Find the treasure," Daniel yelled. "It's the key to our survival." The word hung in the air, heavy and ominous. "What treasure?" Maria's voice wavered, each syllable thick with fear. Amir paused in mid-fight, his eyes finding hers, flickering with something. Was it hope? "It's real, Maria. Your grandmother's stories. They're not just stories." Just then, the lights flickered, plunging the restaurant into half-darkness. Maria's heart raced. Everything was shifting, unraveling. The danger wasn't just from the thugs. It was tangled up in her family's legacy. A storm was brewing, and she stood at the eye of it all. "Maria, trust me, we need to get out." But she couldn't move. Her world was collapsing. She thought she understood, but now she was drowning in confusion and the weight of hidden truths. As things spiraled into chaos, one question loomed above all else. What was the real treasure, and what would it cost her to find it? As chaos erupted around her, Maria's heart raced, thudding like a wild drum in her chest. She exchanged terrified glances with Amir, who was now locked in a brutal struggle with the thug. Her brother Daniel loomed nearby, his smile now twisted and cruel, as if he enjoyed the scene unfolding. "Maria, we need to," Amir yelled. But the sound of crashing dishes drowned him out. Suddenly, the diner doors burst open once more, and a gust of cold air swept through, sending a shiver down her spine. In stepped a woman, tall, striking, with an ethereal calm that felt almost out of place in this madness. She wore a sleek leather jacket, her dark hair framing a face that bore an unsettling serenity. It was like she had walked into a different genre of story. Her presence alone seemed to hypnotize everyone, even the thugs. "Step back," she commanded, her voice smooth, yet sharp as glass. "Who the hell are you?" Daniel sneered, clearly annoyed at the interruption. "Someone who knows more than you think," she replied coolly, her eyes flickering to Amir. "And I'm here for the treasure too." "What treasure?" Maria shouted, bewilderment coursing through her. She felt her insides twist, confusion and alarm merging. "Your family's secret," the woman said, taking a step forward. It's more powerful than you know. It holds the key to Amir's freedom and Daniel's betrayal. Maria's breath caught. Freedom? Betrayal? The weight of that hit her hard. The world around her felt heavy, pressing down as if the walls were closing in. She could feel the heat of the thug's rage, the tension electrifying the air. But this woman stood unflinching. "Get back!" one of the thugs shouted, his voice straining with panic. But there was no fear in the woman. Instead, she smiled, a chilling expression that made Maria's skin crawl. "No, you don't get to call the shots anymore." She reached into her pocket and flung something small toward the thugs. It sliced through the air like a missile. Time slowed. Maria watched, horrified, as the object landed with a sharp thud. It exploded into a puff of thick, black smoke that filled the diner in an instant. Coughing erupted as everyone scrambled for air, faces contorting in panic. "Follow me," the woman roared, grasping Maria's hand. Without thinking, Maria allowed herself to be pulled through the haze, Amir right behind them, heart hammering like it might leap from his chest. Questions swirled in Maria's mind, but there was no time to ask. The world had transformed into a frantic blur. People were rushing, shadows blending together. She felt adrenaline coursing through her veins, and in that moment, she didn't think. She ran. Just as they burst through a side exit into an alley, they stumbled to a stop. The panic faded slightly as they caught their breath. The woman turned to Maria. Her expression was no nonsense now, and her gaze was intense. "You're more important to this than you realize. Your family's past is a living thing, intertwining with your future." "Why should I trust you?" Maria gasped. "Because it's not just your treasure," the woman replied. "It's your birthright, and your brother." She hesitated, biting her lip. "He's part of a much darker game than you know, Maria. The truth is, Daniel's been playing both sides. And if he finds out you're with us?" Strong hands gripped her shoulders, and Maria's heart dropped. "What does that mean?" Panic flickered in her throat, making it hard to breathe. "Whatever you thought you knew about your family, it all changes now," the woman said, her voice dipping to a whisper. "The treasure isn't what you think, and neither is Daniel." Before Maria could respond, the woman glanced back where they had escaped, fear flashing across her face. "We need to go, now." But before they could move, shouts erupted from the alley entrance. Her instincts screamed that danger was closing in. Daniel was coming for them. "Wait!" Maria shouted. But the uncertainty of everything held her in place like a trapped animal. And in that moment of chaos, standing between shadows and blinding truth, she had to ask herself, how deep into the darkness was her brother really tangled, and could she navigate this twisted maze without losing herself? As they stood in the alley, the air thick with smoke and fear, Daniel's voice echoed from the entrance like thunder. "Maria, don't trust her." A surge of uncertainty crashed over Maria like a wave. The woman, this stranger, seemed sure, but Daniel's words held a tight grip on her heart. "What do you mean?" she shouted, breathless. "Like you'd listen to him," the woman shot back, her grip on Maria tightening. "You don't know him, Maria. He's dangerous. We don't have time for this." Before Maria could respond, Daniel burst through the alley entrance. He looked wild, eyes darting, sweat glistening on his forehead. "You're making a mistake." His voice trembled with a mix of anger and desperation. "You think you know everything?" "Enough," the woman snapped, and in an instant she pulled something from her pocket. A small, glistening object. "This is what we need." Maria squinted at it. It was a key, but not just any key. It shimmered like it held a secret, a promise of something big. Daniel's face went pale at the sight. "Where did you get that?" The woman's smirk was sly, almost mocking. "From the family vault, a legacy that your brother has hidden for too long." "Stop lying," Daniel yelled, losing his cool. "You don't know what you're talking about. Mom and Dad, they would've." "Would've what? Told you the truth?" She cut him off, voice icy. "You don't understand the game you're playing." The air thickened with tension. Maria felt her heart hammering against her ribs. The truth was unraveling like a ball of yarn. "What do you mean, Daniel?" she cried, searching his face for answers. What's really going on? Just then, the woman turned sharply. We need to go. Now. The ominous sound of footsteps echoed behind them, sending chills down Maria's spine. Daniel's thugs were closing in. You'll regret this, Maria. You're walking into a trap, he shouted, a warning laced with fear. But it was the woman's next move that left Maria breathless. She stepped forward, locking eyes with Daniel, and whispered something. Maria couldn't catch it, but the way Daniel's face twisted in shock told her it was something severe. Then, without warning, the woman swung the shiny key toward Daniel. You don't know how deep this goes. Daniel's expression shifted from fury to something darker, a mix of anger and sheer panic. You're willing to risk everything for a treasure? For lies? The woman met his gaze, unwavering. I risked everything to protect what's rightfully yours, Maria. You just don't know the price yet. A deafening crash interrupted their standoff. The thugs poured into the alley, eyes wild, fists clenched. Suddenly the world spun out of control. Everyone just calm down. We can, Daniel started, but his voice was drowned out by chaos. Cut the chatter. One of the thugs snarled, charging forward. Maria instinctively stepped back, heart racing, fear curling in her stomach. The woman pushed her aside, confronting the thug with fierce determination. But then everything shifted. A figure emerged behind the thugs, tall, dark-cloaked, with an aura that was nearly palpable. Wait, pulled from his lips, a command that silenced the alley. The thugs faltered. Who the hell are you? One barked, eyes narrowed. As the cloaked figure stepped into the dim light, Maria felt her breath hitch. It was a face. She knew, one she thought she'd never see again. Dad, she whispered, disbelief melting into shock. Every piece of the puzzle shattered as he met her gaze. Somber eyes reflecting a world of secrets. Maria, it's time we talk. In that moment, everything tilted on its axis. Daniel froze, the shock evident on his face, and the woman stood stiff with surprise. Maria's heart raced. What did this mean? The truth was spiraling, and suddenly, the stakes felt higher than ever. Is this why you never told me about the treasure? Maria's voice trembled, the weight of years crashing down on her. Not just the treasure, her father said, voice low and urgent. Your life depends on what happens next. As the tension tightened, Maria realized the family secrets ran deeper than Daniel's betrayal or Amir's desperation. They were entwined in something her family had kept hidden for too long, and she was standing at the edge of a chasm. One false move could pull her into darkness. Standing before her father, the question hung heavily in the air. What sacrifices would the truth demand, and could she still choose her own fate? Dad, Maria gasped, her heart stumbling as she faced her father, the one person she thought was lost to the shadows of her past. Confusion tangled with hope. Had he returned to save her? Everyone fell silent, the chaos momentarily stilled by his presence. Maria, listen to me. You're in grave danger. He spoke, urgency coating every word. The thugs hesitated, their confusion mixing with a thread of fear. But Daniel's face twisted with rage and betrayal. You don't get to control this, Dad, he shouted, his voice cracking. You left us. You were never there. Stop, the woman interjected, standing shoulder to shoulder with Maria's father. We don't have time for this. They're coming. Suddenly the air shifted. A low rumble echoed from the end of the alley, a sound that sent ripples of dread through the group. Maria felt the tension in her stomach tighten like a vice. Daniel's expression flickered, panic behind the bravado. What is that? Maria barely managed to ask, her voice trembling. Something you weren't supposed to know about, Maria, her father replied, his face pale. It's too late, though. They're here. With those words, the ground beneath them shook, and a metallic clang rang out from the mouth of the alley, like a giant door slamming open. A sleek black van rolled forth, engines roaring, as shadows spilled from it, figures clad in dark suits and sunglasses. Maria's breath hitched. Who were they? Before she could grasp what was happening, a figure stepped out of the van, a woman, strikingly beautiful, with piercing eyes that seemed to see through everyone. Get in, she commanded, her voice firm and melodic. Stay back, Daniel shouted, panic spilling into his tone as he moved protectively in front of Maria. You can't take her. Maria's heart thudded painfully against her ribs. Her brother was breaking down, the strength of his bravado crumbling under pressure. Daniel, let me go with them, she urged, desperate to escape whatever chaos was coming. Are you insane? He spat. They'll just use you. But before she could argue, a man from the van grabbed Daniel by the collar. You don't know who you're dealing with, kid. He pulled Daniel away with surprising force, and Maria lunged forward, screaming for him. As they struggled, the woman from the van turned to her father, a fierce look etched across her face. Is the key secure? She demanded. The key? Maria echoed, confusion gnawing at her. What key? Her father's eyes flickered. You weren't supposed to see any of this. We thought you were safe. Then, with a suddenness that took her breath away, the woman whipped around, pointing a finger at Maria. You don't know the truth, do you? You're not just a waitress in a diner. You're the key to everything. Her words pierced like ice. Maria felt her world tilt, the gravity of her existence shifting. Whatever secrets were wrapped around her family, they were tightening their grip. What are you talking about? The woman stepped closer, fury dancing in her eyes. You're the last living descendant of a lineage that generates power. Do you have any idea what the treasure truly is? A gasp erupted from Daniel. No, this isn't happening. His expression gave way to realization, his voice shaking. Are you saying she's... Shut up, the hulking thug barked, tightening his grip on Daniel, who struggled desperately. Ignoring her brother, Maria focused on the woman. What do you mean I'm the key? I don't understand. Her voice trembled with fear and uncertainty. The woman's eyes hardened. You need to choose, Maria. Stay in the dark and face the consequences, or step into your rightful place. We can't protect you if you don't accept your heritage. But before Maria could respond, Daniel's eyes widened in horror. No, you can't let her go with them. You have no idea what they really want. Suddenly, a sharp, blinding flash lit up the alley, illuminating their faces for just a moment. Maria squinted against the light, the shock freezing her in place. Shadows erupted. More thugs poured in from all sides and chaos exploded again. Run, her father shouted, pulling her close. But the world around her had shattered. Everything she thought she knew about family, trust, and even herself hung in the balance. Who was her ally? Who was her enemy? As she stood torn between loyalty and survival, one question hung heavy in the chaos. Could she truly embrace her family's dark legacy, or would it consume her whole? The ground shook, and Maria's heart raced as her father stepped into the light. The reality of the moment crashed over her like a wave, drowning her in confusion and desperation. Dad? Her voice was small, trembling with fear and hope. The tension in the alley felt electric, the thugs hesitating, unsure. Daniel's face shifted from anger to disbelief as he looked at their father. You can't just show up now. You left us. The bitterness dripped from his words like venom. We don't have time for this, their father snapped, scanning the alley as if he could see the danger creeping closer. Maria gripped the woman's hand tight, the key she'd just discovered weighing heavy in her pocket. It felt like part of her identity had been taken away, replaced by secrets she could not fathom. Stay back, Daniel barked, fear creeping into his voice, positioning himself between Maria and their father. You don't know what they want. But before anyone could respond, a chilling echo rang out from the shadows. No, but I know what you're hiding. A voice, smooth and calculated, sliced through the air like a knife, an all-too-familiar voice that sent a shiver down Maria's spine. Emerging from the shadows, with a smirk that made Maria's stomach churn, was Ethan, her childhood friend, the one she had trusted more than anyone. Ethan? She breathed, disbelief sweeping over her. Surprised to see me? He said, stepping closer. I've been working with Daniel for a long time. I guess you could say I have a vested interest in this little family reunion. His eyes glinted with something dark, something she hadn't recognized before. Why? Maria's voice was barely a whisper. She felt betrayed, her world crumbling as she pieced. together his part in it all. "Because it's time for the truth," he replied. "The treasure isn't what you think. It's not just about gold or riches. It's power, Maria. Real power. And you've been holding it all along." He pointed at her. "You could change everything, but only if you come with me." Daniel's face twisted in anger. "You don't know what you're saying. This isn't a game. You can't." Ethan's expression hardened, cutting him off. "You think I care about your petty threats? This is bigger than all of us. Your father, he abandoned you when you were born." The words hit Maria like a punch to the gut. She staggered back, trying to make sense of it all. Was it true? Had her father really turned his back on them? "Ethan, stop!" Maria shouted, panic rising. "What are you talking about? Think about it. Why would he leave? Because he didn't want you or Daniel to know about the treasure. He knew it would make you targets. He left you to protect you, he thought." Before he could finish, a loud crash erupted from the mouth of the alley, and an explosion of sound sent everyone reeling backward. A blinding light enveloped them, reverberating in her chest. Maria instinctively shielded her eyes, gasping as debris flew past her. "Go!" her father shouted, pulling her away, but the chaos had erupted beyond control. Thugs and shadows were colliding, screams rising into panicked shouts. As the dust settled, a tall figure stepped forward, clad in leather, face obscured by a helmet. Maria's heart plummeted. "You have no idea what you've uncovered," the figure said in a low, menacing tone. "The treasure is only the beginning." The crowd surged, panic exploding. The figure pointed directly at Maria. "It's time to choose your side. The darkness knows your name." A chill raced through her body. Darkness? Her heart drummed a frantic beat. What did that even mean? Daniel's grip tightened. "Don't listen to them, Maria. Please." His eyes were wide with desperation, and for a moment she could see the boy she once loved peering through the cracks of his bravado. But Ethan stepped forward, throwing a glance at her father, a twisted smile on his lips. "Your father's past is entwined with yours, Maria. Only you can unlock the truth, but all of it will come at a price." Everything began to spin, emotions crashing down like waves. Her brother, the boy next door, the father she longed for. Did she even know any of them? "Maria," her father shouted over the din, urgency tinging his voice. "Trust your instincts." But how could she? With one spear of revelation after another, a sinister melody played in the background, telling her that trust was a luxury she couldn't afford. Ethan's eyes glittered with a mix of triumph and malice. "Choose wisely, Maria. Once you step into this world, there's no turning back." In that moment of chaos and betrayal, one thought shot through her mind. Was the treasure worth this twisted game of loyalty and lies? And as danger closed in, she stood at the edge of everything. Who would she become when the dust settled? As Maria stood frozen, confronted by Ethan and the hooded figure, the air felt electric, crackling with tension. She could feel her heart pounding, the weight of their words bearing down on her. "Ethan, you can't want this." She looked from his familiar face to the figure beside him, the source of an unsettling chill that sent shivers down her spine. "Actually, I do," he replied, his gaze unwavering. "I've always been part of this. You just never saw it." Her father's expression tightened, fury flashing in his eyes. "Don't listen to him, Maria. He's been playing you." But Ethan ignored him, stepping slowly toward her. "You think you've been kept in the dark? You're the light, Maria. Your heritage isn't just a story. It's power for all of us." "What do you mean?" Maria pressed, her voice barely above a whisper. "What kind of power?" Suddenly, the alley filled with blaring sirens. Red and blue lights flashed from outside, illuminating the chaos surrounding them. The thugs recoiled, glancing nervously toward the entrance. "Ethan, we can't stay here," Daniel shouted, the panic in his voice slicing through the tension. "Get ready to move," the woman from the van urged, her eyes darting between Daniel and Maria. We need to stick together. Maria felt something shift in the atmosphere, a heaviness that made her stomach drop. Dad, what's going on? She turned to him, desperation creeping into her voice. Maria, he began, but before he could explain, the hooded figure stepped forward, pushing past her father. They're coming. We don't have time. A commotion broke out as the thugs scrambled. Their leader barked orders, frantically shoving Daniel back as the sirens grew louder. Get her, he shouted, pointing at Maria. Run, her father shouted, his voice filled with urgency. He grabbed her wrist, pulling her away, but Ethan blocked their path. Wait! Maria stepped between them, her body trembling with resolve. I need to know the truth. The sirens grew louder, blaring outside like a warning. The hooded figure turned toward her, eyes sharp. You will face your family's legacy. But first, you need to let go of the facade. What facade? Maria demanded, desperation clawing at her. The ground trembled beneath them, almost as if the world itself was shaking in anticipation. Then, without warning, the figure ripped off their hood. The hood fell away to reveal a face she recognized but couldn't comprehend. Maria, the words hung in the air like a ghost. It was her mother. No, it can't be. Maria felt her knees weaken, her breath catching in her throat. Mom, I've watched over you, but there's so much at stake now. You must choose. Her mother's voice was filled with urgency. Your brother isn't the enemy, and neither is your father. Ethan, he's been feeding you lies. Lies? Maria's heart sank. Everything you told me? All of it? Everything is tangled. Daniel, your father, you're all part of something grander than you understand. Before she could grasp the weight of her mother's words, a loud crack pierced the air. The hooded man from before lunged, and chaos erupted. A thud echoed through the alley. Maria fell back, her breath hitching in fear. No, move, she heard her father yell. But as Daniel rushed to protect their mother, another figure appeared at the entrance. A man dressed similarly to the thugs, but he radiated authority. It's time to end this, he declared, his voice low and commanding. Everything froze. In that critical moment, Maria felt the weight of her choices pressing upon her. What is happening? No more hiding, her mother whispered, urgency rattling her voice. You have to decide, Maria. Maria's vision blurred, her mind racing. Who could she trust? The sirens wailed, and the shadows moved closer, the truth teetering on the edge of revelation. As her heart hammered in her chest, a question echoed. Heavy and potent. What if everything she knew was a lie, and the real enemy had been closer than she thought all along? The ground shook, and Maria's heart raced as her father stepped into the light. The buzz of the alley faded. The noise of thugs, sirens, and chaos shrank to a muffled backdrop. Dad, her voice was small, filled with disbelief and longing. Maria, we don't have much time, he said, urgency tightening his features. Daniel stood frozen, anger flashing in his eyes as he gaped at their father. You think you can just come back after all this, after leaving us? We need to move, the woman from the van hissed, glancing back toward the street, where shadows moved. Maria felt everyone's eyes on her, a weight pressing down, and she struggled to focus. Her father shifted closer. Daniel's right, I left you, but it was to protect you. There's so much you don't know. Your lives are at risk. From who? Maria shot back, pain simmering beneath her skin. Who's coming for us? Enough questions, Ethan interrupted, pushing forward. His eyes were wild, adrenaline coursing through his veins. This isn't about you, Maria. It's bigger than all of us. Your mother. Don't, her father shouted, the sound slicing through tension like glass. She doesn't know. Maria's breath hitched. What don't I know? She turned to Ethan, desperation clawing at her. But before he could answer, a loud crash echoed from the street, and everyone tensed. A swirl of red and blue lights bounced off the walls, illuminating their faces. Maria's pulse raced. This was real. No more games. The figure in the leather jacket stepped forward, their face hidden, but the tone was unmistakable. Enough. We don't have time for family reunions. The thugs repositioned, fear etching their features. "You're outnumbered," one shouted, bravado cracking as he saw the looming figures behind the armored vehicle. Just then, something unexpected happened. The hooded figure, Maria's mother, she realized, ripped off her own hood. It's time to reveal everything. The ground seemed to tremble. "You're alive," Maria whispered, joy and anger battling inside her. But this wasn't the moment for reunion. "Maria," her mother said, urgency in her tone, "this is not just about you. The treasure is." And then, as if the universe had chosen that exact moment to shatter their already fragile reality, a piercing scream rang out from the alleyway. The figure in the leather jacket leapt in front of Maria, just as one of the thugs lunged forward aiming for her. But in a blink, the jacket figure spun around, knocking the thug aside while drawing a weapon. "Stay back," they yelled. But before anyone could respond, a loud pop erupted, a gunshot. Everything slowed, the world blurred with confusion. Maria felt time freeze, her heart pounding in her ears. She could hardly grasp what she saw next. Her mother's expression shifted from urgency to horror. "No!" Maria screamed as her mother stumbled backward, clutching her side, blood seeping through her fingers. "Mom, no!" Maria rushed forward, but the leather-clad figure barred her path, urging her to stay back. "We need to move." A deafening roar filled the street as more shadows emerged from the light, agents of chaos following. Daniel shouted something, but it was drowned out by the rising storm of dread. "You need to choose, Maria," Ethan's voice rang, desperation edging his words. "You can stop this." In that horrific moment of clarity, answers exploded inside her head. It was all a lie, a series of lies. "Ethan," she whispered through tears, "what have you done?" With that, the realization hit. Every bit of trust, every bond, every twist they shared, could it all be a part of a darker game? The shocking twist tightened around her like a vice. A revelation so profound, it shattered everything she believed. As chaos burst forth, Maria stood in the storm of truth and betrayal. Her heart raced, caught between who she thought she could trust and the sickness of lies. And as her world spun out of control, one crucial thought pulsed like a beacon. What was real, and who would survive this night? Caught between the throbbing din of danger and the raw ache of love, she had to wonder, was she destined to find her family's legacy? Or had she just stumbled into something far darker than she'd ever imagined? As chaos erupted around her, Maria could barely process what was happening. Her mother, bleeding from a wound that shattered her world, looked at her with a mix of urgency and pain. "You have to understand, Maria," her mother gasped, struggling to hold on to her. "Consciousness. This isn't just about the treasure, it's about survival and the power that comes with it." "Mom, don't, stay with me," Maria cried, trying to calm the panic rising in her chest. The world closed in, the thugs moving closer. The menacing figures encroached upon them, their intentions clear. Daniel was shouting, pushing against the thugs, but every voice faded like a distant echo. All she could focus on was her mother's face, pallid and stark against the chaos. Just then, a deafening roar filled the air. The armored vehicle on the street revved its engines, its headlights sweeping across the alley like a searchlight, illuminating the truth hidden in shadows. In that moment, Maria felt a sense of dread, deeper than she could articulate. Her mind churned with unanswered questions. Then, as if the universe had synchronized a cosmic joke, an explosion rang out, a blinding flash of light erupted from the van, throwing everyone off their feet. Maria gasped, the force knocking her backward. She felt the cold concrete under her as chaos washed over her like a tidal wave. Daniel rushed forward, grabbing her hand. "We have to go." "No!" Maria screamed, panic gripping her throat. She couldn't leave her mother, but as she strained to reach her, something unexpected happened. In the thick smoke swirling around them, a figure stepped forth, rising from the chaos like a phoenix. It was their father. No, not just her father. "It's time for you to remember, Maria," he shouted, his voice cutting through the fog of confusion. Suddenly, without warning, he began to transform. His form flickered and shifted before her stunned eyes, morphing into a different man altogether. One she had never seen before, but still familiar enough to send chills down her spine. He wore a steely expression, a brooding intensity cloaked in shadows. "Time to choose a side," he said, venom lacing his tone. "Dad?" Maria stuttered, her heart racing. "What's happening?" But he simply locked eyes with her, revealing something akin to sorrow that pierced through the chaos. "I did this for you, Maria, to protect you." "Protect me? From what?" But as the words left her mouth, a visceral ache echoed within. Had they all been hiding something deeper? A family puzzle she was never meant to solve? "There are forces at play far beyond your understanding," he replied coldly. "You need to decide whether you want to be part of this world or not." And then, in a fit of movement, he whipped around, confronting Ethan. "You were never supposed to be part of this. You don't belong here." Ethan's expression shifted from smug confidence to a raw mix of regret and fury. "You had your chance, and you blew it." He pointed accusingly at Maria's father. "You didn't think I'd just stand back while you left us to rot. I deserve my share." "Your share of what?" Maria interjected, uncertainty mixing with righteous anger. The layers were peeling back. The revelations weren't just about the treasure, it was about everyone standing in front of her. Their father's jaw tightened, and with a flick of his wrist, he revealed something. A key, ornately designed, shining beneath the flickering lights of the police sirens. "This is what they want. This is the treasure that binds us. And if you choose wrong, Maria, we lose everything, including you." In that fragile moment, Maria felt the walls of her world crashing. She had thought she was a mere waitress caught in a storm of greed and betrayal. But now she stood at the edge of something unfathomably larger. "Choose wisely, Maria." Ethan's voice carried a chilling clarity that echoed in her mind. Everything came to a halt. Her heart pounded in her ears, and uncertainty twisted within her. She felt trapped between two worlds and two truths. Could she truly walk away from all this? She stared at her parents, the secrets and lies, threading through bonds she had thought unbreakable. The question suspended in the air was unbearable. Did she even want to know the price of the treasure, or would it threaten to consume everyone she loved? And then, everything exploded again. The thugs charged, chaos swirled around her. The lights flashed, pain ripped through, and in a heartbeat, everything she thought she knew crumbled to ash. Rectangles of light from the van surrounded them like a collapsing dream. In that moment, she wondered, who was she meant to be amid the shifting realities? And more terrifyingly, what truly lay beyond the darkness? Maria felt her heart pounding in her chest, each beat a reminder of the chaos swirling around her. Her mother staggered, blood soaking through her fingers as she struggled to stay upright. The sounds of the outside world, the sirens, the shouts, started to fade, her focus narrowing to her mother's fading strength. "Mom, please, hold on," Maria cried, desperate tears streaming down her cheeks. Her dad stepped forward, his expression a mix of fury and fear. "We need to get her out of here." "No, she can't leave," Maria shouted, her heart threatening to shatter as she held onto her mother, feeling a life slip away. Ethan stepped closer, urgency in his voice. "You're not seeing the big picture, Maria. It's not just the treasure, it's everything. If you don't choose now, you'll lose it all." Time seemed to stretch, every second like a lifetime. Daniel's anger boiled over. "You barely even know what's happening. You're in way over your head." "Then tell me," Maria demanded, her voice breaking but filled with fierce determination. "Who can I trust?" All eyes shifted as the figure in leather readied for a confrontation. Anger erupted among the thugs. The tension thickened as they prepared. "You want the treasure? Then face the consequences, including your past," one of them shouted, inching closer. In a flash, the darkness erupted. The air thickened with gunfire. The alley transformed into chaos. Maria squeezed her eyes shut, the world spinning. Moments became jumbled, fear curling around her heart. But when the smoke began to settle, she caught a glimpse of her mother, collapsed on the ground, but still conscious. "Maria," her mother whispered, her voice frail yet powerful. "The truth, the treasure, it's your legacy. You must fight for it, or all is lost." "Mom, don't talk like that." But Maria felt an unsteady wave of resolve build inside her. She knew what she had to do. Stepping back, she glared at Daniel and Ethan. "What have you done? This is your mess. Families are not supposed to tear each other apart." Ethan's expression flickered, a flash of guilt crossing his face. "I thought I could play both sides. I wanted to be part of your world." "No," Maria shouted, her voice echoing in the tumult. "You think you can manipulate me?" Then, pushing through the fading chaos, she stepped toward her father and mother. No more lies, no more secrets. Daniel's face morphed from anger to desperation. "Please, Maria, don't do this." For a heartbeat, silence fell. The truth hummed between them, heavy and potent, as someone stumbled from the shadows, clearing smoke from their eyes. "Enough," commanded the cloaked figure, their authority still unmistakable. "Maria, your choice is clear. Stand with your family, or let them fall." Maria gripped the key in her pocket tighter, her jaw set with determination. "I choose family." With that, she turned, rallying beside her mother and father as they faced the approaching threat together. In an instant, chaos exploded again. Shouts rang out, bullets flew, and shadows scrambled. But Maria felt stronger than ever. The light of her family's truth surged through her as she fought, pushing through to protect them. The thugs faltered, confusion flickering across their faces as bonds of loyalty were tested. Daniel surged forward, joining arms with his sister. The mother, feigning pain, used the moment to drive her way back into the hearts of them. Fighting through the mess, one undeniable thought pulsed in Maria's mind. Family was not just blood, it was that fierce connection, that will to survive against all odds. And just as the tide shifted, everything surged forward. The thugs, realizing they were outmatched, fell back, scrambling into the darkness they'd come from. Sirens blared louder, drawing closer, and with one final push, they all fled into the night. As they burst out into the open air, Maria turned to face the dawn breaking over the horizon, a symbol of new beginnings. In that instant, they knew nothing would ever be the same. With raw emotions simmering, Maria knew they had faced their darkness together, ready to embrace their legacy with open arms. "Together," she whispered, each syllable heavy with promise. As the weight of the past fell behind them, Maria felt hope swell within her. They would navigate the shadows, they would seek the treasure, but this time, she wouldn't be alone. And before you go, let me make something crystal clear. You have to subscribe right now to the channel, so you don't miss any of the next exclusive stories we have lined up. Smash that like button right now to feed the algorithm. Without your support, we cannot continue to bring you these amazing tales. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about this incredible ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how this ends. Your participation makes all the difference in this community. Let's make this unforgettable.